Yep. Looks like Facebook, not Facebook, looks like YouTube doesn't like me compiling in the background. I suppose that makes sense. Not exactly the easiest thing, compiling my software. But it's finished now. Alrighty. Well, I've only just sort of pulled this out of its packaging a short while ago, so I'm just going to have a look, see what we got straight up. And straight up, what have we got? 5 volts, 50 milliamps, 5 volts, 48. Okay, fair enough then. John Lockhart. Everyone else, Paul, Ed, Arnold, Kenny. Hey, Andre. Plenty of people tend to do that. Yeah, you put your drinking water bottle in, you get off to university or something like that. It happens. I've got my own stories to tell about that kind of thing. Okay, so 5 volt, 48 milliamp. One of my first big camping trips on my own, when I had my colossal sized motorcycle, and I had a whole bunch of water because you know water's essential when you're going off camping somewhere. And I had all my noodles because it was a fairly lightweight, easy meal to carry. And I probably only got about 150 kilometers down the road, and I realized that they had decided to jiggle all together or merge together. The water containers ruptured. It got into the noodles, and so the water and the noodles were all jiggling together, breaking up. And also, of course, it wasn't too far off the exhaust pipes of the motorbikes. I basically cooked my noodles, par-cooked them within the first 2 hours of my camping trip. Needless to say, the camping trip didn't go so well overall. There were some pretty memorable, for all the wrong reason, moments in that trip. All on my own. Hey, DeAndre. These things just, yeah, they happen. Yep, you're a slide off. Yep. Alright, so I can already see the liquid damage coming in through there. Okay, guess we'll just straight away get the main board out. No point dithering around. Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully we can get some recovery. The thing I'm worried about here is, did it go through the keyboard or did it come in through the... Yeah, it looks like this one might have come through the keyboard, so that's going to cause complications. So we may get it running, but then it still needs a top deck, which kind of makes it a little difficult to make these seem like economical repairs. Not quite sure what board we've got here today. Let's find out. Not sure if it's 2020, 2016. I haven't had a look. Not yet familiar enough just by off the top of my head looking at these things. At least the design, the way they've laid it out, is still similar to the previous models of the Intel 1598s and things like that. So it's not a massive learning curve switching over to the M1s. Yeah, there's a few adjustments, but it's not like when we went from the 1502, 1398 sort of situation and then straight into the 1708, 1706, which was, it was just a completely different world when we had that transition. Come on, come on, there you go. Now, personally, I feel like the M1s are a bit of a gift in terms of the repair industry, because I do feel like they are going to give us a higher chance of successful repairs by the fact that they've put a lot more of the critical parts hidden away from a lot of the liquid damage. What is this? Is that rice? That's damn rice. Damn it, that's rice. Ah, okay. I've got rice in the computer. No, I've done a couple of others before, but most of the time I didn't really end up bothering repairing them because the liquid damage had just gone too far. I just haven't done them on screen. I don't do everything I have come in here on screen. That would be seriously interesting to try and do that. You would get a very brutal exposure and you'd probably tend to lose a few customers, potential customers. You might gain a few simply because they admire your brutal honesty or openness, transparency as it were. But I think some people might get a bit scared off. Some people like to maintain the illusion that you know what you're doing. What's the matter, Barry? 3x5 angry glares. Oh, I see you're playing angry stare poker with someone. Why'd there have to be rice in here? Oh well. It happens. And this is the thing that I do forget occasionally, is the fact that they've hidden the Wi-Fi antennas under here. Now, I haven't yet worked out a nice way of very cleanly getting this two-sided rubber adhesive off so that you can actually put it back on nice and cleanly. Yeah, I can get it off doing what I'm doing here, but it just feels a little bit kludgy. No, the rice trick really doesn't do anything at all, unfortunately. Oh, that's right. These ones. And more to the point, they certainly don't do anything for the corrosion. It's not like the rice nanoparticles jump up, get out, and fix up that corrosion. I have ordered a couple of sockets, but obviously they have not arrived yet for getting this damn hex head off. I really do feel like a member of the Dodgy Brothers Incorporate, having to use needle nose pliers to get this off. I didn't even measure what the side size or length was on this. I just sort of said, well, I'll take everything from 2mm up to 5mm in a socket and hope that I have something that works well enough. Okay. Well, at least nothing got into the display. We don't appear to have any damage on this side, which is nice because our C3217s are on that side. So we've taken out the backlight section by the looks of it, and a couple of the input power. So this has a chance, and it looks like it actually didn't come through the keyboard, so it just sort of flew very precisely between the bottom of the machine and the bottom of the board. Very interesting. Alright, let's put that aside and let's have a look at this board under the microscope. No iFixit kit? No, I don't use iFixit kits. I think iFixit is a incredible company. I like what they do, you know, they do a lot of good work and things like that. But in terms of their toolkits, yeah, it's not for me. I think their toolkits, if it's a one-off or you're an infrequent user, that's probably fine. But for doing multiple jobs a day, I think you need your things like your Wera or Weha. Yeah. So backlight driver looks like it's taken a bad hit. I'm speculating this is backlight, by the way, simply by the array of the 1206 caps. That there is probably going to be one of our big culprits. I hope I've got replacement parts. This is the downside of the M1s, is that I just don't have access to the parts yet. Now hopefully, I really don't want to peel this off, but I'm going to have to because our power electronics are under here. And I want to see if they're being protected. What's Tim's new customer policy? Well, at least when you peel this up, yeah, see, this has done its job. And this is the part why I'm saying that I think the M1 boards are going to give us actually some fixable machines again. Because even though it's porous, as in, you know, this fence around here still has holes in it, so the liquid could theoretically go. The reason why it tends not to is because of the surface tension of whatever liquid comes in causes it to sort of hit a bit of resistance when it comes to these gates, and it just doesn't tend to go through. So I'm going to leave that down for now. I may have a universal kit, come to think of it, but I think it was more just security bits and whatnot as opposed to sockets. Sockets are a little bit harder to come by. Anyway, let's find the board number on this because that's the next thing we need. He said he was cancelling his phone. Oh yeah, I mean that's something I already do. The only reason I have a phone is bathroom entertainment and... Okay, so this is a 2020 and people sending me messages. I don't use it for voice calls at all. When people try to call me, I just respond with a message and say, please text me or email me. Hey Steve B, hey Repair It All, good evening, or whatever time it is there for you. Yeah, let's bring up the 2020 board and let's have a look around. Okay, let's have a look at the damage. Like I said, I'm fairly sure, yeah, it is LCD backlight, yep. Let's see what UP8800 is. And it's a LP8548. We'll take a copy of that. Search, find a part. Paste. We'll just go with that portion there, left alone. Let's see what else might have it. Yeah, Andre, being half, yeah, having a loss of hearing really, it makes things very difficult. I have a bad feeling this particular chip is not going to show up. I'm hoping it might be on something like a 928, a 239 or something like that. The detection radius is just, if you've got multiple search elements, you want them clustered around a certain distance. Otherwise, you could end up matching all three elements on a page, but they're in completely opposing corners. This is not good. What's more interesting here is that for some reason they did not pick up even on this schematic. Why didn't you pick up on this schematic? Questions have now raised. That should have picked up on this schematic, if nothing else. Let's try a substring search. Maybe I've got a bug. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Maybe one of the characters here is encoded differently and I didn't realize. Right, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so yeah, 281, 928, 1500, all these. Oh, it's even on the 138. I shouldn't have stopped searching. Let's go back to that. And lo and behold, 2020. Okay, 49 to, okay, so it is the standard backlight controller for these newer boards. Thank goodness for that. Okay. Alright. So the next part I want to have a look at is there was this little DV by this inductor here. It's a diode, PV bus voltage sense. So if I go into the quad display, it's this little chap here, and the reason I'm concerned about it is by the severity of the corrosion. So like the rest of this corrosion, yeah, it's got the light color, pale, bit of green, I mean, fair enough. But this one's actually started to char into the black. So that means a lot more activity was going on there. We probably have, if we're unlucky, a hole through the board to a small degree. This chip here will also, these are all going to have to get removed and replaced. That should be okay. That's probably going to be okay. That's got to come off. And again, you can see here on the edge of the backlight output, again, it's just changing it to a bit of a brown color away from the pale corrosion. Yeah, so this is a 6-leg part, just up with the 2 resistors there. So that is this here, and it is a dual N-channel combination, or is it? No, it's a PN channel combo. Let's see, sensor power enable, PP bus voltage sense in. Interesting configuration that they've got there. It makes the brain hurt a little bit because they've put the MOSFETs, because when they've drawn the schematic, they've biased the way they draw it based on the fact that the 2 MOSFETs are in the one package. It's a bit like in the old days with when you do a multi-vibrator dual NPN transistor drawing. There's many ways you can draw it, but one of the ways that you can draw it that clearly indicates it's the way it works is by having the crossovers with them facing each other, and you straight away look at that schematic and go, okay, I know what that's doing. But because they've drawn it in this way, rather than perhaps what would be a way that would explain what's going on more, it makes your brain hurt to the point where I'm not going to try and understand it at this point. But I can see that if you could break those 2 apart and draw them as separate MOSFETs, it may make the purpose of the circuit a little bit clearer. Apple doesn't care. I'd say this circuit, I've seen it around. It's pretty much in every single MacBook that I've seen, board that I've seen. It's one of those circuits where they've worked out how it works once, and then they just cut paste it to all the new machines. Anyway, so now we need to find this part. Nut 3169. I know it does not say nut, but anyway. Alright, again, oh great, it's on the 165s. It's a common part. You can't always rely on parts being common that they use, because sometimes they will use a very obscure variant of a part that, other than the fact they may have got a good deal with the supplier, there's no real compelling reason for them to actually use it, that specific one. Alright, so, and here we go. So you can see it's basically very much the same circuit. They've kind of redrawn this one so that you can actually understand it a little bit clearer. You can see that it's basically switching the PP bus 3G hot, can barely speak, in, and then it takes a divided portion of it and sends it off to the SMC for the voltage sense. So the way you draw schematics can make a big impact on how understandable your circuit is. I guess it's like software. Sometimes you want people to understand what you're doing, sometimes you want to confuse the living daylights out of them so that they won't keep hacking it. Doesn't always work though. Okay, so that is that little DB decker there. So we'll just dive in and get that. Now unfortunately, here we go. Decisions. I can take this off, or I can leave it on, but if I leave it on it's going to curl and, you know, deform a bit. But if I take it off it's going to curl and deform in a different way. So which way do I want it to deform? Hey Coda. Keith, welcome, you made it. Good to see. You may notice there's a little bit of a lighting difference tonight. At least I hope so. It's not a substantial difference, but hopefully it helps. Hey Paul Marrow, how's it going? I'm just about to head off to bed. What? It's rather unseemly, heading off to bed at this time. I can feel that top pin there, the top left, is chewed away. I'm not rightly sure, but I'd say that's probably going to be our G3 hot pin. I think. Let's see. G3 hot 4 is maybe not. Alright, seems like I've got no choice. I'm going to have to crank this heat up. I don't know when my new hot air station is going to arrive. The last status update I've got is that it was sterilized. So, yeah, who knows from there. Oh, blimey, it's really not going there. I didn't want to use full power on this. Yeah, that was pretty stuck. I had to push it up to over 9,000 to get that one off. Yeah, it should be a little brighter, particularly on the shiny forehead. Alright, so that pin there, the PP bus or P bus vSense input. So it's pin 4. So that is basically PP bus A on. That's why that one's pretty jacked up. And I just realised I've still got my big soldering tip in the iron station. Switch back to the micro pencil. Realistically, if you're trying to decide whether you should get a micro pencil for your repair work, I can only say yes. You very quickly, like previously we'd use things like the JSO2, which is an excellent tip. Particularly, use it all the time. Things like 1278s, 165s, things like that. But after a while, you do find that you keep running into points where you want a little bit more fine-grained soldering ability, and so you switch over to the micro pencil, and then before you know it, you're basically just staying on the micro pencil the whole time and abusing it in ways that you perhaps should not. Okay, that's not a good thing to do. You got a spare? You're kind of doomed without a spare. You have to go back to your JSO2. I mean, the upside of the JSO2, of course, is it carries a lot more thermal capacity. And it's cheaper. The downside is you can't quite get into things like you can with the micro pencil. That was your spare. Oh, well, okay. In that case, all sympathies removed. You deserve what you get. No sympathy now. I shouldn't laugh. It could easily happen to me. Hey Greg, morning. By the way, Greg, thanks for pointing out about the Amp Hour podcast thing. I posted a thank you on Twitter to their accounts. Thank you for name dropping me. And hopefully it was an opportunity for me to educate them that Flex Board View, while we do use it a lot for, we use it for MacBooks and some iPhones, it actually is in fact for every board view. It is not, it's not brandist. It's more than happy to show board views of all brands and types. But I can understand why a lot of people go by the idea that it is just for MacBooks, because that's where you mostly see it being used. And it's why I'm putting efforts into letting people know that it's for all brands. As long as you've got a board view that works with it, it's all good. And I've put a lot of time and money into getting more board views supported for it by writing new decoders and things like that. It actually wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, if I left that bridge between those two resistors. I think they are the divider. What I'm trying to do here is actually just build up the pads a smidge. That should do it. You've broken 5 micro pencils in 6 months. Alright, you got a problem. You need intervention required, I think. That's a terrible record you've got there. Okay, on this board, on the M1, pin 1 is pointing down, but on the 165 it's pointing up. You can hardly tell though. Alright, there we go. Shows the dot. Yeah, thank you, Alexa. Yes, non-discriminatory board view software. Whether you be Dell, Asus, FZ, CAD, GenCAD, Hyperlinks, so many different formats that I support. IPC 356, even Protel ASCII. I have to say ASCII at the end of that one because there are actually multiple Protel formats, and ASCII is only one of the many. The rest of them I can't decode because they're proprietary binary format that I have no inclination or specification. If the format's in text, as if the file itself is, you can just sort of read the data, then I will certainly give it a shot. In fact, a lot of the formats that I've done are simply because I looked at the data and compared it to the board and that I had as a reference and decoded what was going on. But when it becomes binary format, it's not quite so easy. Yeah, DeAndre, I'm looking at that one. I'm still trying to see if I can find a Rosetta board or Rosetta file for it. Basically meaning a file that I know is of the same board and is simple enough for me to be able to make the comparisons between the data. Finding Rosetta board files is a tricky process as well. But I am working on it. But being a binary file format, as you know, it's going to be a little bit harder. So this is what I was worried about with the degeneration of this lovely top. Oh well, it's what happens. I might... Let's see, now let's have a look at this part here. Yeah, it's 11:45 at the moment. Okay, so the next part of interest is this UD560. Not for me. We don't believe in such a... daylight savings is a very archaic system. We don't participate in it in this state, thank goodness. Oh, thank you very much, Leandro. Thank you for the £2. They'll give me a coffee to keep going. This part may be a sticking point for us. I don't have a 1949 handy. Ricardo from Brazil. Alright, so we've got a problem here in the sense that if this part is damaged, then we're kind of up the creek. Best I can do at this point is I'll give it a little bit of an 80-20 wash, and then I will take it from the board, inspect it, and hope that it hasn't endured any catastrophic damage. At this point, I have not even bothered to bring out any sort of testing equipment. No one can see what I was doing. I haven't bothered to bring out any testing equipment at this point. That particular part is a high side current sense. It kind of makes me wonder why Those are all over the place, so why haven't I found that one? I'll just try an IN 190 while I worry about it. Could be some subtle variant of their normal one, which is always a pain. I think I'm just going to take this tape off, which is really a shame. I wanted that to stay there. But as you can see, so this here is the critical sort of 3-phase or 2-phase power generation. That's probably for the CPU, from what I can tell. And it's been very nicely protected from this liquid ingress. And that there, that is a fancy looking chip. I hope I never have to replace that. And it would appear, nope, they've decided to change over to a new current sense amplifier set, so that's a bit of a nuisance. There may be an equivalent alternative that I can use. It does look like it's got more address programming pins on it. So like maybe the previous ones that we're used to, they can only be set to say maybe four different I2C addresses. It's actually, I'm not even sure how they communicate on these. No, I'm not actually sure at all. Oh no, they're not addressed. No, I'm not sure why this one's different. Anyway. Let's see, so this is upside down. And I'm just wanting to flip it over, have a look at the edges, see if anything's been chewed out. And in this particular case, it looks like we got lucky. It hasn't been chewed out. So I'll clean up the solder here and put the chip back down. Some of those pads are going to be a little bit reluctant because they'll be straight onto the ground plane. That's a wee tad wonky. Just had a little bit too much solder down there. So we'll pick up the excess solder. And then we'll reflow it again. And this time it should float back up and align itself somewhat better. There we go. Have you watched TI-10? What's TI-10? Ah, Victor, how are you? Ni hao. This chip here actually looks pretty clean now that I've... Yeah, that cap ain't so great. We'll check the continuity on that. says it's okay for continuity, but look, I'll be honest and say a cap with that sort of corrosion, see it's just crumbling off. I think we best replace that. It's a prudent move because you can be fairly sure that if I close this machine up, it's going to go and short itself out a week or two later. The only downside is it's a little bit jammed in down the bottom there, makes it hard to get the hot air. Everything else wants to reflow around it or explode. No, Ted Berry, I consider that the M1s are actually easier to repair than the Intel ones. As I was saying before, they've been a little more sensible with their design. They put cages around the truly critical stuff, the stuff that can destroy the CPU and things like that. And all the exposed stuff is stuff that we can still repair because it's using most of the part generic components and it's not super critical, like the backlight in this case that we're fixing, or just general input glue logic. So yeah, I think that we'll probably see the last of the Intel ones not being serviced quite so much. People just quickly stuff it and move on to the M1s. Okay, so that cap that we removed is a 2.2 microfarad, 25 volt 402. I don't know if I've got one of those. So 2.2 microfarad, 25 volt, 402. GD Tech, I'd say people were breaking M1s the day that they actually came out. It's inevitable. Okay, so the 138's got some... It cost us $27.84. I don't even have one of those. iPhone 6 of course has them. Yes. Very good reason to have iPhone boards, because more often than not that they will have the parts that you're looking for that you can't find on other MacBook donors. Particularly when it comes to capacitors. It's just... So it's a... Okay, C1501. Alright, so that one's under the shield. That's not a problem. Okay, so we'll get an iPhone 6 board. Yeah, we'll get on our way with that. Hey, Rick-Tech, yes. How you been? What have you been up to? Why haven't you been around? Time to start peppering you with questions. What's this? No. I think I may have put all my iPhone 6 boards in the iPhone 6 container. time zones, fair enough. Oh great, of all the ones I pull out, that one. Okay, that looks like a candidate. Okay, so it's the one. Alright. Unfortunately, it's this one here, which means I'm going to have to dig away a little bit. And if I want to dig away a little bit, I really need to put them into a holder. Otherwise, these boards do move around quite a lot because there's not a lot of mass in them. So naturally, as soon as you start trying to use the Reaper on it, it squirms out of the way. Hey B-Dog. Don't mean to change the subject, but you're going to watch Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. I have no idea. I guess maybe when I get around to it. At the moment, I've been busy watching Korean shows. I've just finished watching Alice in Borderland, which is somewhat of a natural follow-up if you've been watching Squid Game. Unfortunately, the trouble with Alice in Borderland is that they've only finished season 1. So come on, we need season 2 already. But this should come up pretty quick because we're using... Oh no, it won't. I thought we were using MacBook temperatures, but we were not. Hey, wrong way. I was a little miffed when they knocked off his friends so early in the season. I guess that was the thing they're gonna, they hit you with that disappointment. And you're like, damn, they can't do that. And they did. So damn, they can't do that. I guess that's what's also nice about watching foreign shows, is that their style in terms of storytelling and what they will or will not do can vary quite a bit compared to what you may consider to be Hollywood standard fairy tale type stuff. So it makes a nice change. Yes, I've watched Squid Games, yeah. I think we can all agree that the Marbles episode was... You saw it coming, and it hurt. Actually, funnily enough, I watch them in the native language, that's in native audio, and I just read subtitles. If I watch a show like that with dubbed, it really messes me up because I hear the English. I may not actually understand the words that have been said, but I hear the English and my brain desperately tries to grasp onto their lip movements to try and synchronize it, and so my brain just gives up, it goes into overload, and I have a very dissatisfying experience watching the show. So I just leave it in the native language audio, and all is good from there. Okay, we need to obviously replace this controller. I'm probably going to have to obviously replace those 4 caps as well. No, I'm not really picking up much of the Korean. About the only thing I'm picking up in the Korean is that they love this sauce called tteokbokki or something like that. And they use it with extruded rice pasta, so to speak. But I see that come up everywhere, that tteokbokki sauce or whatever it is. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but it's just what my brain says it might sound like. Hey Andre, look. Anusika. Guten Morgen. Yeah, I don't like it when shows get doctored for dubbing and things like that. Cartoons, fine, I get it, you know. It's not like I ever lip read on cartoons. My brain knows to turn off when it comes to cartoons. Oh, for goodness sake, everything moved before I even got there. Actually, while the board is hot, I'm going to take the opportunity to wipe all of these out. G'day, promo. And I melted that damn. Can't win. Yikes, that's hot. Who would have thought that a board that's been worked on would be hot? Yeah, the iPhone was for us stealing parts, and we're going to have to go back to that again soon. Let's put a new controller. I should have taken this one, but I think this one's okay. It's just more tarnished. It's not really like corroded through or anything. It's just got a bit of tarnish on it. Just a wee tad too much solder on their center pad. Now I don't have a huge problem with it in general, but the trouble that we do encounter in these scenarios, because we've got a lot of thermal mass around, it means that in order to get the squeeze out, you find that you have to sit on it for a little bit too long. And I've kind of backed myself into a corner here. Damn it. And by the same token, I don't want to hot air the pad because it then takes all of the solder away. That's actually probably going to be enough. Now there's a bit of corrosion there. We'll clean that up, some 80-20. When will you fix the GoPro? Probably not. I fixed up the one, and I don't think I'll really put much more effort into the other one. We'll see. We'll see. Alright, we need to get a backlight driver as opposed to a backseat driver. This is going to be fun because anyone who watched the previous time I was looking for a backlight driver will remember that I seem to have a predisposition for having taken them off every damn board. Ach, niemand. And if I didn't take it off the board, then it was possibly because it was all damaged. Come on, Paul. Come on. And then, of course, some boards I just couldn't find it. Okay, I'm fairly sure this one might have it. Oh, Salmon. Good evening. Let me tell you, you are 90% sure that's one of them. Yep. Hopefully it's the right one. Oh wait, no, this is, yeah, no, 48B. It is the backlight drive. Question is whether it's the right one for the job. 48B1. And let's see. I'm just going to turn it around so that when I pick it up, it's already going to be in the correct orientation. Now I should point out that maybe it's not the best idea for me to be reassembling this entire backlight section without having even gotten to the point where I have 20 volts coming up on the USB-C input. But I suppose my counterpoint to myself on that is that if I don't fix up, or certainly if I don't at least remove the parts from the backlight section, then I don't know what sort of secondary issues I'll be causing or running into. And I don't know how it will react to not having the backlight section on it. I can't imagine it will cause any real problems. But like I said, I do not have the luxury of familiarity at this point with how these boards behave. It's interesting that this inductor here loves to float before pretty much everything else. Hey Rilla, welcome, and Terry Taylor, you're okay, being late. Under normal circumstances I am very intolerant of tardiness, but this being the internet and a live stream, that doesn't count. In the real world, I am rather ferocious when it comes to tardiness. Mostly because I have this not enough time in life to do what I want type feeling. And so when people waste 20 minutes of my time because they forgot to notify me that they're going to be late or whatever, it really ticks me off, because it's not so much that it's the 20 minutes, I mean, yeah, that doesn't help, but it's the knock-on effect from that delay. Everything else gets shifted back, and you use up any buffer you may have pre-allocated yourself to deal with situations, and it wasn't because of your own choice. So, but yeah, so when it comes to real life, I am rather hostile when people are tardy on me. Like I said, I would love it if you could actually charge people lifetime. So if they take 20 minutes of your time, you get that back plus 20, the same again. There'll be a lot of dead people by the time they're 25. I know there's the Justin Timberlake movie, but there was actually another one, I think it was a French movie, that predates it quite considerably, and it was a good one. I have no recollection of its name or anything for that matter, but it was either French or Italian. I can't quite remember the levels of shouting, so it's hard for me to ascertain which country it was. Alright, so these 4 caps here, I now have to find out what they were. Ooh, alright, well, these will be interesting, because these are not caps that I'm thinking I'll find anywhere. I'll maybe find one on each board. I could be wrong, but the main issue here is that they're 50 volt. So, yeah, well, let's put in the search and see how we go. So, they're 2.2 microfarads still. 50 volt is the critical thing. Who knows, maybe we'll find them everywhere, but it's not something I'm going to expect to find everywhere. They're 50 volt because they're part of the backlight. Interestingly enough, these are for the keyboard backlight. It's not something I would have expected. So that means in the keyboard setup, they're just using a single long chain of LEDs. Fran, I use Ubuntu, and then I use Fluxbox as my window manager. I don't use a desktop manager. I like to keep it simple. Fluxbox helps me. Ooh, 0045s. I've either got one of them or I've got 5 of them. But I have a horrible feeling the ones I've actually got are 244s. Wow, it's the only one that has it. And it's probably not even going to be a proper match. It's probably going to be a... Oh no! Alright, so the 45 is the only one that's got a whole bunch of these. They're kind of scattered everywhere, but let us hope and pray that we have, hallelujah, we've got a 45. Whew. $15.34 actually useful. It's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. So it's these caps on, yeah, these ones here. Yeah, very surprising that it came into use. And now I realise it's the 244 that's the somewhat rarer little beast. The nice thing about the 244 is that it's got a piccolo chip on it. So if you do get the chance, then snare a couple of 244s cheap and you get yourself a cheap piccolo. And hello, Anel. This hot air station really is starting to lag, because I've got this at 460 and 110. There's no way this board should be... Oh, flip my day. Got plenty more. I need 4 of them. I need to order another heater element. That's basically what's happening, is just that the heater element is starting to wear a bit down. I really don't know where that other one went. I'm not going to bother, but we do have 10 or so on this board. So it's no big loss. Just flip it over and there's the other ones. That came off real quick and easy. Obviously, the ideal thing to do here is to just order some more. And I will do that. But at least I know where I can get them from now. Now, the question is, do I get all gambly and stick all 4 on at once? Or do I do the mature and responsible thing and only do 1 at once? Well, you've already seen where I'm going. Any luck? No, the Atom hasn't shown up yet. I haven't even got a progress update, which is getting a little bit annoying. Well, it's not perfectly aligned, but they are all attached. And to that I say, suck it, naysayers. Yeah, a little bit better than factory, I agree. Alright, so that's, as far as I can tell, that's the backlight section pretty much cleared up. At least good enough that we can proceed and see how we go. And then we walk into the Valley of Terror over here. Okay, so we've got another one of these current sense amps, and this one looks a little bit corroded. That's going to be a problem. We haven't really found a smoking gun yet for why we're only getting the 5 volts. The only thing I can potentially think of is that current, that PP bus voltage sense that we looked at just before. But let's have a look at this chip and see what it is. S2. Oh wow, we've got S2 on these ones now. Okay. Well, there's gonna be something. So what do we have? We've got an LT Linear Tech 8642EV. I get a bad feeling about that one. Bad feeling. Chris, you do get. I mean, this is a pretty obvious scenario. It's like you got liquid damage. You just become the janitor. You look for where there's corrosion, and then you fix it up accordingly. Okay, 2020, 2016 obviously will have the hits. But I've got a feeling we don't have anywhere else. And I'm fairly sure that chip will not be something that I can buy. At least not yet. Yep, that's a dead end chip if it is broken. So that being the case, what I'm going to do is I will actually I should probably peel this off, make sure nothing's gotten in under there. I don't think there has been, but again, see, this is all nicely preserved. These are the Thunderbolt chips. And even though we had the liquid coming down here, again, the surface tension barriers on those gates stops it coming in. And this is why I feel like the M1 series is a breath of fresh air for us as repair industry people. Finally, we're getting a board where when there is liquid damage, for the most part, it's going to be stuff we can fix, and the important things are still going to be running okay. So I think there's a little bit of damage here up the speaker amp chips, but that's not going to be a problem. We'll flux and boil after I do some 80/20 and hope for the best. That's all we can do at this point. I am going to be curious to see if we can find replacements for these current sense chips. Okay, so that's the 80/20 done. Then we wash it over with 100% or pretty close to 100%. Can't strictly speaking get 100% alcohol too easily, mostly because it does love water. So as soon as you expose it to air, it's going to pick up a bunch of, a percentage of water from the air. I'm just checking to see if these are shorted. They seem to be okay. They're a little bit banged up, but they're not shorted. Okay, we do have a short here though, I think, unless it's just needing charging up. So we'll hold on to it for a few seconds and see what happens. Yeah, there you go, see? Sometimes you just got to wait for the capacitors to fill up a little bit with some charge. So a few people get caught out on that. It's understandable. And interestingly enough, the better your meter is, sometimes the more likely it is that it's going to trick you. So we've got some damage there. I'm just checking over other areas before I come back. Okay. Well, they seem to be okay too. Same trick, some 80/20 to pull away the water-based component of the whatever liquid was on there. and then flood with 100% to dilute the water fraction back to as close to 0 as you can. And if you feel the need, you can flux and boil, but in this sort of scenario I'm not going to bother. I will, however, flux and boil this chip area here. And on that current sense. Well, DJ Craze, your cheap meter would be, perhaps it won't take as long. It all depends on how they do in the diode test, what voltage and what current they're using. The more current they use, the quicker that beep goes away. Let's have a look at the other side of the board. Like I said, I was fairly sure I didn't see anything on this side. The only reason why we've got liquid showing up now is simply because of the fact that we've been pouring alcohol all over the board. I'm just having another. So is this okay? They're still using the 9240 on this. That's right. Surprised I didn't go 9242s or something. I'll try not give them ideas. And there's our BIOS chip. Funny that, after all these years, we're still pretty much running around with the same sort of BIOS chips. I'm surprised Apple doesn't implement their own for that matter. Good on you, Paul. Kicking things that I should not be kicking. Now, normally I would assume that the the USB-C connectors are going to be the same as the Intel ones, but it's late at night. I don't really feel like quite pushing my luck with that, just in case that there actually is a difference in this one. I can't imagine there would be, but then again, who knows? Okay, they've got a couple of burnt pins on those as well, so we'll have a look at that. Okay, alright, so this is where the liquid damage came in. Ah, okay, so this could actually explain a lot of things. So, anyone know off the top of their head if these are in fact pin compatible with the Intel versions? I'll get the contact cleaner. Not really keen on using contact cleaner, it's a bit stinky. The 1932 port is the same. An L, but 1932 versus say 1706, 1707. Oh, 1989, okay. I was going to say, it seems strange that you would pick out 1932, the MacBook Air, and not the rest of them, so it was a bit weird. By the way, no, don't let them tell you to cut your hair. You do what the hell you want with your hair. That's okay. That's fine. Alright, let's see how we go. Let's see if we get a flashbang. Okay, we are still stuck at 5 volts and 50 milliamps. So I don't know whether we're in a DFU mode, but I thought that would be 20 volts, 50 milliamp. But yeah, we're still stuck at 5 volts. Five volts, 50 milliamp. What's going on there? Battery needed. Good question. Good question. I think you might be right on that. So here we go. Wait, was that 20 volts that I was seeing, or was that 5? I'm going blind. It's upside down for me because of my left-handedness. Yeah, no, that's 5 volts. Yep. Alright, let's put it back into the chassis and see if we can get a difference. I do hate doing this. I hate putting boards with scum on them, rebel scum, into a comparatively clean chassis. It just feels wrong, okay? And I've also put it in backwards. Do these have the 3v3 G3 hot bucks? Not sure. No, the FLIR would not really help in this scenario. It's not really enough current. It's not a... I'm gonna say, it's not a short type fault, at least not right now that we can tell. It seems to be more of a signaling fault. It could be a short fault. It could be that like on the Intel ones, when you get this scenario, sometimes it's the ISL that's dead. And you only get your couple of milliamp and no migration out of the 5 volt. Well, I'm not too sure how realistic it would be to expect the ISL to be damaged based on the backlight damage that we've seen. Doesn't seem like a direct connection to me, but it could be something else, the shorting over here, because it was the 5ES2 section chip that we're having problems with the corrosion. And in this particular case, no difference. We're still at 5 volts, unfortunately. Five volts, 50 milliamp. And no apparent activity anywhere. Probably should plug the fan in. Just to see if it does anything like a quarter fan spin or anything like that. Nope, nothing. Idiot. Well, in terms of what I can do this evening, I'm essentially limited to replacing the ISL. That's a bit of a Hail Mary, I think. It might work, but if I had to point a finger at a culprit, I'd be more inclined to think of that 5ES2 chip, given that it has had the liquid damage around it. Which is this chip here. I don't imagine it's going to be the fuses for the 3217s, because we did get the same on both ports, as expected. Yeah, we don't have any open board data at this point for the 2020. It sucks. Greg, sorry to hear that someone out there has had their shop broken into, and that's really unpleasant. It's bad enough the finance side of things. It's even worse when it comes to the client's loss of data as a consequence. Yeah, because their machine went bye-bye somewhere. Second time's been broken into. That's pretty bad. I'm just going along, seeing if there is something I've missed. Yeah, something that would be a smoking gun, just in case. I mean, I have my doubts that we will find anything. So yeah, I'm either gonna say this is the culprit or the ISL down here. This is the only thing I can replace at this point, unfortunately. Uh, let's do the ISL. Like I said, I don't strongly recommend this path, but sometimes you just gotta try it. Sorry, thanks. Thanks, 6 Hills. Obviously, we will keep this chip aside, and if we find that it indeed is not the problem, then we have ourselves a working 9240. Of course, we would have contributed one to get it in the first place, but you don't go throwing these things out yet. So I'm only replacing this because I have had experiences where the board, everything seems fine with the CD32s, and I'm only getting 5 volts and a low milliamp, and it turns out it's the ISL. Very delicately put that back in. I would say give this a 10% chance of being at fault. I think my ISLs fell to the bottom of the box. (9239s). That's definitely not quite what we're after. Here we go, 9240. Arnold gives it a 30% chance. Alright, so it's up in the stakes there. I generally don't like to fall back onto sort of like it's the ISL type straight up mentality. I think it becomes a little bit of a crutch in a way that people just sort of go, oh, it's the TriStar, and replace the TriStar anytime the phone doesn't boot or something. And yeah, I mean, it many times it does work, but the trouble is it sort of does dull your diagnostic senses. You sort of go more into just simply a step-by-step flowchart mentality rather than trying to mentally come up with why that chip would be faulty. What drives you to that point, particularly when the chip itself looks perfectly good and the area that it's in looks perfectly good. I basically just don't like changing chips for the sake of changing chips. See, there's really this leads into the problem that I was talking about. There's really no visual check or anything like that. Everything looks visually good, so maybe I will find that it's the current sense chip that I'm bemoaning earlier. Something ever going to go on? I was going to say, gee, that's taken its sweet time. That really took a long time to get down. Jim Allen, that's a little bit of a different situation. That was more based on the context of the fact that it's an older power supply. It's a fairly... I mean, I agree what you're saying. In fairness, though, when I went in to service it, I said, this is not really my thing. I don't really diagnose ATX power supplies much, so it's more a case of I'm just going to try and do these things blind. I do believe I said that. And see how we go. But when it comes to the MacBook boards and things like that, I have the opportunity to be able to test and theorize and things like that. And we do have the schematics and board view. But, you got a point there, yeah. So, you do have a valid complaint, as it were. AKVB online, good evening. Chris, it was some restricted or reduced version of it, it seems. I think they just sort of left out a lot of stages for voltages that they don't use, because a typical modern ATX power supply has a lot of voltages that we just don't use anymore on main boards. So they dropped them, and then they would have not bothered overamping everything, because these new boards, mind you, that was an i7 7th generation, so it would have been using some degree of power. Okay, Catherine. Alright, so here we go. It would help if oh gee, everything's just falling apart on me. It was momentarily connected, and I just sort of pushed it a little bit too far. There we go. And as sadly expected, we have had no change whatsoever. So this one here in spite of having repaired, at least to the best of our knowledge, we do not have a solution. So what I can do from this point, we can bring out the gym cam and we can see if there is anything just flashing on. Like maybe we are not catching a very short pulse, because those USB meters, they don't pick up the very short things, and they don't have a peak sense either. So we can put the gym cam on it. Who knows? It's getting late, so we're sort of resorting to lazy ass options. It's an M1, so no, it doesn't have the T2. It could be in DFU mode, that is possible. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that's 20 volts on this one. 20 volts, 50 milliamp. What? Hilarious. Gym cam is flat. Damn it. That's a real problem. Give it a minute to charge. They'll teach me for not plugging it in last night. Barry, no, it doesn't currently. I mean, I can put it back in. Maybe I can put it back in the chassis. Maybe it will work now. But we tried it before in the chassis and it didn't do anything. It still stayed at 5 volt, 50 milliamp. Just have to wait a minute or two for the gym cam. Alright, I'm actually going to go get a drink of water. And they'll give this a moment to charge up. And you can come back with me. You can sit there and think about where the fault is. And tell me, so I don't have to use my brain tonight. Because what is it? It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Probably getting a bit late for me to be doing anything remotely intelligent. So I'll be back shortly. Hey McGrams, I'll put my microphone on just now. Right. I should have put adverts on the whole time. Then you guys actually could have earned me some money instead of being the leeches that you are. The leeches with no redeeming qualities, it seems. Am I being a little harsh? Maybe. Alright. Okay, so hopefully we can get the infrared up. And hopefully it will stay up long enough, have enough charge in it to get us at least some view. Here goes. Died straight away. You useless little... looks like I'm gonna have to get the other USB-C brick. What a nuisance. So we've got a... Oh wow, it actually did. Okay, well you can still hear my voice, but I'm not sure why that face came. So, okay, we'll try the magic trick of exiting out and coming back in. Oh, my face has been removed for some reason. Alright, well, you just have to listen to the sound of my voice. I'm sure you can live with that. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, let's see, we've got that going, got this going, let's go. So what we're going to look for is anything that sort of like just flashes over quickly and moves those crosshairs quickly over to here. Just for an instant. It's all we need. Not seeing anything. Not even seeing any little flutters. So we're going to flip it over and, oops, with a little more gentleness than that. Oh, grabbing the cable doesn't help. Hey Costas, well, good luck with your day. Oh great, now the camera decides to choke and die. Keep an eye on this chip here. Every now and then fairly sure I see a flicker. I'm going to disconnect it. And reconnect. I sworn I saw just a little bit of a heat signature pickup on that CD3217. It doesn't help that we've kind of got a reflection issue, so we'll see if I can try and reduce that a bit. No. And bringing my hand in does not help. Just need to find something that I can use to keep that elevated that doesn't actually have a strong thermal signature or reflection for that matter. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, I can definitely see that the 3217 that I plugged into is showing a spot of warmth. The other spot of warmth is we're seeing up on the ISL up here. So yeah, you can see that the 3217 is heating up periodically. It's not a lot. We're talking like probably not much more than half a degree in change. I don't really need to do anything about the mat here anymore because the temperature seeing here is pretty much, it's not swamping the temperatures we're seeing up here. So the fact that we're picking up these very tiny temperature gains on these chips means that we don't need to do anything about this section here. Now what I am still looking for is maybe there's a point on the board separate from the CD3217 that is also flaring up, but I can't see anything. It is more and more looking like this is a signal issue, and it could well be that current sense. Basically nothing on this side of the board is getting started. Definitely a TriStar. Thanks, Ariperidal. That's right on the money. Right on the money. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I'd say we've got a signaling issue. We may have a short. I guess I'll go through the rails, and I've already disconnected that. Damn it. Well, we can go through the rails and have a look and see if anything shows up as shorted. May as well leave this connected. Let's see, overhead. Yeah. I'm going to leave the infrared camera connected so it can charge up. And then we'll quickly jump through some of the rails and see if anything shows up as shorted. Because the fun thing is I don't yet have a diagnostic sequence for this. So just see if we can find out where they've got their power aliases. So it's page 101, 101, go. There we go. We're not orientating our board that way, thank you very much. Okay, I'll switch over to quad view even though it's going to be missing one panel, which was my pretty face. I'm sure you'll all live. And we are in continuity mode. Okay, no short. DC in, that's down by the ISL. It's all good, no short. The other nice thing about the M1 is that realistically the rails are a lot simpler. There's less of them for a start. What have I done here? Oh, that's the Intel chips have a profound level of squillion steps. I mean, it's a generic CPU, so yeah, meant for many purposes. So it's understandable that it became quite a beast. And I mean, it is a beast. It still knocks the pants off pretty much anything that the M1 can throw. The only reason why the M1 sort of created a fair bit of stir is that it was very good at a couple of things that it was designed for, in terms of it had the hardware encoders in it, or decoders. 5V and 9. I'm going to have to put all these rails into a guide, and that will make it much so I don't have to try and remember this again. 5V Aeon, okay. Overall, the design just feels so much nicer. Okay, so we've got 31.5 ohms there, which isn't really a problem because that is a CPU rail. It's probably not what I'm even looking for. The MMPU, buck. These ones I'm not really looking for. Yeah, all these. LDOs are the sort of things that you're going to be wanting to look for. Okay, it's interesting. That one actually doesn't show up there. What about that? No. On VS2. So it's that test point there. And more I try to use the test points. Not being used, not being used, not being used. The test points are nice because it allows you to put a fair amount of force down with your tip. And you get a much better connection, and they're gold plated, so. Let's see, what was that? 3v3 S2 UPC. It's the second one there. Takes a bit of getting used to the new boards. Trying to find your way around, get used to the various landmarks. The next page. There's 3 pages of these power aliases. But I really do feel like the Apple engineers were very happy to be designing this board. I think they felt that they had a lot more breathing room, not having to conform so much to what Intel was telling them to do. Oh, there's a 4th page, my bad. I'm very surprised if keyboard backlight was, well, you never know. Because we haven't even got to that point. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. What? Damn it. Getting tangled up in my cables here. Okay. Okay, well, this is the first major discrepancy I've found. Unless the chip's under there. We've got this UP102, and it is. It's under there. A sneaky little thing. No, it's not. By the board view, there's a chip underneath those brackets, but clearly there is not. Or have I just got it upside down? No, I don't. It's like UP102 doesn't exist on this board. That's very interesting. I'm going to have to check on that. That's fine. We have an alternate point where I can test this particular rail. Yeah, ghost IC. Stuff made of nightmares. I mean, it's one thing to not have it populated, but it's another thing to actually not even be there. Okay, this is the 5ES2 line. That is the one that we were concerned about with the chip on the other side, the generator for it. Let's see, I think that's it there. Just double check by that. Oh. Are you gonna go quiet, or have I got the wrong thing? Okay, according to that, we're shorted on the 5ES2 rail. Now, it's not a massive short, but it's probably lower than it should be. I'm going to double check, by going to this up here. And see if we get the same result. And we do. So we're about 5-6 ohms on that rail. That 5ES2 rail. So what we can do is we can lift that chip back up and see if it's the chip at fault or whether it's one of the caps supporting it. We have to be sure we don't lose this chip either. Because we do not have a replacement. Yeah, this heater element in this quick is definitely not so quick anymore. Interestingly, that chip itself doesn't... Okay, the thing is, it's connected there, but it starts from the, Let's see if we've still got the short. We do indeed. Okay, so it's not the chip. Alright then. Let's see if we can find any sus looking capacitors then. Okay, we've got some orientation issues, I think. Oh no, my bad. Okay, the inductor should be fine. That cap, they both visually seem okay. Just preliminary only. What else are we looking for? Okay, there is the caps here. Okay, the resistor. So there's that cap there. Kind of surprised if that was short. It doesn't look like it. It may be quicker for me to just simply do the much beloved power injection. Not really a lot of choices. Alright, we'll put the power injection in. We'll stick it in up here and see what comes up. And being 6 ohms, it hopefully shouldn't take too long to show up. I'd say it's probably about 4 or 5 ohms. Damn it, man, where's my little box of wires? I created a little box specifically to hold the wires that I use for short detection, and what do you know? I don't have them. And it's a unique box. I do not have another one of them anywhere in the workshop in terms of its physical size, so it's not like I can accidentally put it somewhere and go overlook it. Oof. Let's check on the other side. Ah, found it. It's hiding behind the quick. You could use the Multimeter Pros, but I prefer not to. I prefer to use something that I don't have to sit there and hold its hand, so to speak, while it pumps in the electrons. Well, hilariously, in spite of everything, it seems I've left out the one that I want. Well, that's okay. We've got the ground side, so we'll start with that. Yes, Gavin, there is a missing chip. I've removed the chip intentionally. Poor little... That is not sticking. That's not sticking. That's a fix my GPU solder job. Yeah. Why do these things have to be a little more complicated than you want them to be? Yeah, I don't want those strands floating around like that. Okay, that's fixed. Yeah, you don't want little strands of wire just able to bend out of the way and detach from the cable that you put on the ground point there. Because as you move the board around, they will obviously, flex around. And when they flex around and they separate like that, what happens is, a little strand can just sort of go, I'm out of here, and it touches onto something over here, and then, well, you get some creative fireworks. Hey, capaz. Yeah, I didn't think that was really attached. Another GPU fix. That's good enough. So for this, I'm going to go maybe 1 volt, 3 amps to start with. Someone's taken my other alligator. Oh, there it is. Obviously I'm not generating any output at this point. We've got to get our infrared camera so we can see it in all its glory. You mean resource temporarily unavailable? Right. 1 volt, 3 amp, let's try. Damn it. Okay, not enough there. I mean, 150 milliwatts, it can actually be detected, but I don't think we've got quite enough. There is a little bit down here. It might be just an aberration. We'll push the current up to 5 amps, although it's not going to change anything because I'm not hitting the the limit. And naturally, of course, the infrared camera. Imperfect software written by a human. Let's try that again. Okay, it's definitely down by the display connector. You can see it pop straight up. So if you watch this section here, you'll see it immediately comes up. Yeah, so it's not a massive amount, but it's definitely there. There's Jimbo dropping Fifth Element references around here. Is that even allowed? I'm sure we should leave those cables aside. Alright, let's have a look. Alright, so there's nothing blatantly. There's that. That might have just been the current sense resistor. Or is it? Oh no, my bad, my bad. Oops, there goes the USB-C cable. Sorry. So what we have here, we've got this little capacitor here, and that, what have we got? That's a wire, internal wire. So it's either that getting warm or it's this UP700. What is UP700? Display power sequencer. Yeah, I'm not liking the feel of this. So what's it going to be, folks? Is it the cap? Or is it the sequencer? Cap or the sequencer? 50-50. Going for the cap on one person. Well, the cap's going to be the easiest to remove using a soldering iron tip. Kind of interesting because that does not have... Oh, is that a bit of damage at the end there before I get into it? Oh wow, check that out. You can just see... No, it's a little hard to point it out. But there is what looks like some kind of damage on the end there. But it actually looks more like a flashover damage. It could just be bad soldering, but it's very hard for me to demonstrate it because the optics are not so good here. But yeah, you can see on the video that there is a bit of a distortion there, and it's almost like the cap shot the end out. Hey Pedro, what are you doing up? Thanks for doing your job for a change. That is not something you would very easily see. And more to the point, that is... I'm just going to use some assist on this one, by the way. Yeah, that's not something you would normally easily see. Even if you're looking for a defect, and it's in an area of the board that was not even affected directly by the corrosion. I kind of don't want to lose the cap. I really want to see what's going on with it. I can't even get it off. I'm going to have to use some hot air. I've got to be careful. There's a couple of underfill jobbies just near me. Gonna have to go for it all. Sorry. I'm also worried about the display connector. There we go. Let's flip this cap over and see if we can see any defects. We can see some sort of brown mark on it. Probably where it capped itself when it saw what was coming. There, you can see a itty bitty brown mark there. I'm kind of looking for a large fracture or something, but we might have to be content with the itty bitty brown mark. Yeah. I'll put that aside and... Ah, crikey. It's on me. And see if we still have a short. Yeah, we still got a short. It wasn't the cat. Damn. But that definitely had a defect in it. Right. So let's get rid of the sequencer. You watch, it's not going to be the sequencer either. It'll be that I should have turned the board over when I was testing it. This is going to suck if it's not the sequencer. And it's the sequencer. Okay, so something went wrong with the sequencer. Maybe with all that liquid damage, something blew its brains out. The GoPro, no go. I can't. I'll see if I can find a replacement button cell, but I don't think that's really going to be the fault anyway. Alright, so this is a SLG 5AP 144.3V. I just totally remembered that off the top of my head. Let's see if we can find any. Oh, thank God, they're on. Oh, it's on 165. Oh, thank God. I actually have a blessed night. Blessed be me, blessed. It's on a 165. God, I love my software. Sorry. I know I shouldn't be like this, but honestly, the number of times I am so glad that I bought a license of my own software, it's crazy. And there we go. There's one sequencer. Go to the microscope. Nah, Travis, I'm just lying. I'm not. You know I'm lying anyway, but I have to confess. Everybody knows I was lying. At least the nice thing about these parts is that you don't have to remember the pin 1 orientation on them, because if you look on the underside, there's only one way you can orientate the pads. So there's no way you're going to, unless you're truly brilliantly bad, there's no way you're going to misalign that sequence. Okay, we've got to get rid of this one before I do a Tim Herman and start working with parts that are the broken ones. Yeah, so you're looking at that pattern, you know there's only one way you're going to fit it onto that set of pads. Speaking of reality shows, I found out today that the Australia Survivor series, the one that we've got going on here in Charters Towers, like it's, you know, the actual big Australia Survivor reality show thing, they've been here for a couple of months now, and I only found out that they're only just now bringing the contestants in. And I gotta say, I'm not going to be surprised if when the show comes out to public, that there's going to be a few people keeling over from the heat, because it's just starting to get warm now. Like, we had a 40-degree day last week, followed by a couple of 38s. This week hasn't been too bad, mostly 35s. But we're getting, you know, once you start heading in towards Christmas time, it's just like 38, 38, 38, 39, 40, 42. Those people are going to be really suffering out there. Pedro, what are you even doing up at this hour, by the way? Man, I gotta put that capacitor back. I'm not gonna put the same one back. Yeah, well, negative. Yeah, that's just as bad, really. Yeah, be it negative or positive. Once you get to those extremes, it's painful either way. And let's see, that capacitor was a 100 nanofarad, 201 10 volt. Okay, so that I'm going to just yank out of my own stock. 100 nanofarad, 201 10. It's basically just a very general purpose decoupling cap. It doesn't have to be critical, not even in the remotest. So you just hear, it's interesting the way they've done it, but yeah, the way they put it on the D line, the drain. Yeah, normally you'd sort of stick it over here. Anyway, doesn't matter. We've got a 16 volt one, 35 volt one. That's getting a bit extreme. 25 volt? Yeah, no, we'll just go 16 volt. That's good. I really should have taken that off. Aesthetically, that is. If you told me that this was going to end up, like this does fix it, if you told me at the start that this was going to end up being the sequencer switch, I would not really have gone for it. I would have went, no way. So you got all this liquid damage here, why would it take out something like that? Oh, we've still got to put that chip back on too. Whoop. It might, at this point, I may take the time now to actually replace those two caps, that top and bottom ones. Because they are gnarly. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Good job. Leave a big fat blob of solder on the side of the inductor though. Yeah, I mean, they're less than pretty, those ones, so yeah, we'll get rid of them. Those ones aren't too bad, they're just tarnished, they're not actually, yeah, you don't have the end cap actually falling away. Great, so the inductor solder is reflowing already. That shows you the big difference between leaded versus unleaded. Okay, that's gone. Damn it, it won't let me grab that chip. Ah! Ah! Yeah, I'm getting old. I mean, yeah, tired. I just grab the tip of my tweezers, and naturally, of course, they're scorching hot. Because lo and behold, I've had the hot air blowing on them. Who would have thought? Clearly not me. Yeah, I see the bridge, don't worry. That, on the other hand, is a cluster job. Yeah, well done, Paul. The bridge is easy enough to sort out. The cluster job, I'll probably do that after I put the chip down. I don't know, I haven't decided. Well, Ankit, the best way to become a mod is to never ask to be a mod. As soon as you ask to be a mod, you never get to be a mod. So unfortunately, your hopes and dreams have now been dashed forevermore. Forevermore. Alright, let's see what those caps are. Some just leapt off my table. So the top one... Oh, these mongrels again. What is it with this board and the 2.2 microfarad caps everywhere? Oh, goddamn. These are 25 volt ones though. Where did I get them from before? Oh, the iPhone 6, that's right. At least I think they were 25 volt on the iPhone 6. Yep. So C1500. Realistically, the mongrel. Someone's already taken the other one. Okay, let's see if I can find another one. I bet you they're the only ones because they're on the backlight circuit, that's why they're the higher voltage. Everything else on the iPhone is going to be 6.3. There. So I just need to get another iPhone board. Fortunately, that is not a problem. The biggest problem with iPhone 6 boards is working out which one you're going to attack. Because, alright, yep, that's got both the caps missing. That's got both the caps missing. I think that was the same one as I started with. This is a 6 Plus board. It's probably those two caps. But that was a 6 Plus, so we're not allowed to play that game. There we go. And these ones do not look like I need to bring out the Reaper, which means I probably at some time in the past actually repaired the backlight circuit on this for some reason. Ah, sorry folks. There we go. Now this is the way to destroy an iPhone 6 CPU, as you go in with Macbook temperatures. I just realised I didn't actually check what the bottom capacitor voltage size is. I just assumed it's going to be another 2.2. The late night with the old age. And in this case, yeah, it is the same. All good. So we're just going to take this cap here. Like I say, if you see balls popping out of the CPU, well, that's just tough luck. Realistically, it'd actually be pretty difficult because although this is extremely hot, it's also extremely fast. So the CPU does not get a lot of energy transfer into it, certainly not enough to get it to spit the balls out. I'm gonna go this way. Not that I recommend doing work on iPhones with the high temperatures and airflow. You will get bitten. I had to put that disclaimer in there in case certain iPhone professionals hear me saying that and berate me. Oh geez, I just realised this doesn't explicitly have a pin 1 marker on it. This is one of those you should know because it's inferred. But if we look on the underside, it is marked. See, that's got the corner taken out and there's a corner over there. And lo and behold, alright, now I see what their marker is. That little V there is not a V. That is a pin 1 indicator, pointer. Like a C pointer. Just double check that. Yep, okay. A headache. Wow. Let's put this in the cooler. I can't believe my camera went dead on me. Yeah, no idea what happened. That's probably cool enough now. You know what's uncool? When you can't find the lightning connector. Not the lightning, the USB-C connector. Okay, there's that one, but that is actually my generic one. So what do I do with the other one? It hasn't gone into the air filter, because you believe me, you would know if it went in the air filter. The air filter is a very excitable creature when it knows it's finally caught something. It tells you a lot. Okay, there we are. It's attached. Alright, fingers crossed, folks, because if it doesn't work now, then I'm just gonna, head off to sleep. But let us hope. Is that even plugged in properly? Start to get paranoid. Nope. Same thing, unfortunately. So yeah, there was a problem on that line, but it's still not actually what's the problem. Well, that's disappointing. It is entirely possible that let's do a voltage test on that line and see if we are getting. I don't think we'll be getting 5ES2 though. But it'd be interesting to see if we're getting any voltage. I think we're going to have to just abstain until tomorrow, and then we can go through and do rails checking. Yeah, that's a very unusual voltage to have on there. Something else is possibly shorted somewhere. Nothing. Okay, so we've got 12.3 there. 12.3, okay. Do we have any LDO voltages coming out of this thing? Yeah, we're certainly not getting 5 volts out of it. But like I said, I don't know if I should be expecting it yet. Okay, let's see if we've got the enable RC33. So this down here, this resistor is the enable. And yeah, we're not being told to activate yet. Does it need battery? Well, it's possible. So alright, we'll do that, and then we'll call it a night, okay? Tragic that this is getting very messy in a way that I don't like. Ah, fuck die fun. I forgot to pull the fan up. There we go. glasses. What are my glasses doing over there? And I was supposed to be making myself a bacon and egg sandwich. It's getting a bit late for that. Late in the sense of I don't know if I've got the energy to do it now. Okay, here we go. No, still 50. Interesting, it's not even attempting to charge the battery, it's just nothing. So we could still have problems with the current sense, particularly the fact that it's not even attempting to charge. Yeah, this one is destined for tomorrow. Sorry folks, it's the way it goes sometimes. I did have hopes for this. And maybe tomorrow we'll find something else. I mean, we found the one rail that was a little bit shorted. So yeah, it's a start. And we will just leave it here overnight. There's no point because I haven't got anything else on the schedule. Alright. Okay, I'm out of here. You all take care. Have a good evening. Have a good day. Whatever you're going to do. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here. I'm going to have to decide whether I'm going to be having that bacon sandwich or not. I'll let you know tomorrow. You all take care. See you next.